So Georgia, we're both pretty new to the Museums of Old York. I've only been the director for, well, almost 2 years, and you've been the president of the board for how long?
Just a year.
Just a year. So
Yeah.
we're kind of neophytes, but I think we both care a great deal about the museum, and it really is a fascinating and wonderful place to be.
It is. And when you say the word museum, it's interesting to me because we have so many different properties that make up the museum.
Some of which really aren't museums at all.
Now, a really good example, of course, is Stedman Woods.
Yeah. Which is historical. It was the site on which one of the first houses and farms were built in this part of Maine in the 1630s. But it has been a nature reserve since 1978 when Richard Stedman donated it to the organization.
Yesterday, my husband Steve and I walked down the lane, which is the mysterious road that now takes you into Stedman Woods that we didn't know. And the old stone wall is there from the original farm from the 1600s. I mean, it just takes your breath away.
It's a beautiful spot, and I think it combines history and nature in a wonderful way, but yet it's not a museum. And we also have, of course, down on the Hancock Wharf, a working lobstering wharf. And that's not a museum either, but it really helps to maintain a way of life that has been in jeopardy with rising property values and waterfront property values.
Well, and there's a nice thing coming in the John Hancock Wharf building because there's the whole lobsterman's exhibit that's thanks to the generosity of some of our donors. We will be able to finish what was started by Perkins Fellows 2 summers ago.
Yes, and it's a wonderful exhibit on current lobster fishing. I think it's called Out of the Ocean, Changing Face of York's Fisheries. And the whole main floor of the warehouse is going to be turned over to this exhibit.
People will come for that, and also because children can be outside there.
Yeah.
It's a way to show some history in a place where children won't have to be so fidgety.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. A lot of times when we museums advertise what we have, we'll show a picture of the building, but I'm finding it's more interesting to turn the camera to the scenery around where our buildings are because the York River is beautiful, and that's where several of our properties are located.
Well, I remember one of the first things you spotted when you came here, was the difference between our town tour and our river tour, and you were able to, for the first time for a lot of us, separate them out and show how different they were and how you could do one tour or the other or both and still get a real sense of our community.
Yeah. Well, and
You did that.
that's something that this summer will be opening Memorial Day, May 26th. We'll have a brand new exhibit for the season on York, Maine, and its involvement in World War I. It's really an interesting story because a number of people went and volunteered in France and Belgium before our country officially declared war on Germany. And so there was this great spirit of trying to help the effort even though our country wasn't involved. But then when our country did become involved in 1917, folks went off to war, nurses went off to help. And it's a really rich story that we're telling mostly from our own collection. We also, of course, will have buildings open in York Village and along the York River, and we'll have programs going on all summer as well.
Well, I think a lot of people have seen us, and I know growing up here as a child, we were a summer organization. And part of what's changing now is that we are becoming a year-round museum, and that's really important for the people that live here all the time. And in fact, our museums are about and for the people who live here. Yes, we're lucky to have tourists who come and who want to see what we have, but we exist for York and for the surrounding communities. So as we become more of a year-round organization, that's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, and some of the programs have been really fun to watch develop. The museum's been having tavern dinners for a number of years in Jeffords Tavern, where we cook over a hearth and people can come and enjoy the evening. This year we've had guest chefs come to the tavern dinners to be the ones preparing the food, and it's been a great variety from traditional seafood to French Canadian cuisine. We also last year started tastings, and they're not typical beer and wine tastings. We've had whiskey, we've had a single malt Scotch whiskey, we've had hard cider, we've had rum, and it's really a great evening. You're getting taste. It's not, belly up to the bar and have as much as you can possibly have. But we also bring some history into it because we are a history museum. For the cider tasting that happened a couple of months ago, we found in the collection that we have part of the trunk of one of the first documented apple trees to come to North America.
I didn't know
From
that.
England, yes. And it was brought by Scottish settlers up on Cider Hill Road. And so here was a 200-year-old, 200-plus-year-old tree that blew over in the 1870s. Well, people saved parts of the tree, and we have them in the collection. We also have a pencil drawing of the way the tree looked in the 1860s. And so we brought those for the cider tasting. And it just helps make a connection that's very real with York. And it also is a great way to use a historic tavern because, well, they did do those things there. And the comments we've been getting from a number of people is that, thank you for the local people, thank you for having these kind of events because, I haven't been here the last 30 years since I was in the 5th grade, and it really is a wonderful place to come. And the latest thing that we've started doing is a soup series where we have someone come and speak on a topic. One coming up is about the Agamenticus Yacht Club, and then we serve soup after the talk and in the tavern. So again, it's another one of those just fun events that you can, on a cold winter's night, you can come and
That's actually this coming week, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think people don't know how old the Agamenticus Yacht Club is, and they're probably wondering why we're celebrating that, but it's 100 years old, isn't it? And the Commodore, Doug Tuttle, will be there to speak about the book that has just come out. But so many of the members of the York community have had involvement down on the waterfront activities that had to do with the yacht club.
Yeah.
And so they might come and revisit a little of their history too.
Right.
But you've also got a really interesting tasting coming up this spring.
Yes, we have a Madeira tasting, and that will be May 9th. And Madeira is one of those wines that has a long history. I understand it was George Washington's favorite wine. People don't drink it so much, but it
Because they can't.
because they can't. But they, different types of Madeira have different flavors, and so we're going to have a Madeira tasting, and the guest chef for that evening for the accompaniments is the chef from the Black Birch in Kittery, and another
That's a
fun
wonderful
event.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this year, very excitingly for us too, and I hope for the community, is the 25th anniversary of the show house.
Yeah, the Decorator Show House.
Yep, and that's going to be very special.
Yeah, that opens July 19th, and it is the 25th anniversary, and the house is called Harbor Lights. It's in York, and it was built in about 1906 by New Hampshire Governor Frank Rollins. It's a beautiful kind of gambrel roof Dutch colonial style building that overlooks Route 103, and there is a view all the way down to York Harbor. So we're looking forward to this year having a historical house that the designers come and transform. And it really is a special place and a beautiful setting.
And the show house itself is an opportunity, again, for people from other places to come, but also for people who live in York to just feel good about what's around them. And a lot of us don't know what's around us.
Yeah.
So here is this beautiful property
Mhm.
that everyone can enjoy.
And, we do things like show houses because that raises a considerable amount for our operating budget. This museum is privately funded, always has been. We manage some community property like the old jail, but we don't receive town funding or state or federal funding for that matter. And so it really is, it's a great way to contribute by coming to events or by becoming a member. We are a member organization, we have an annual meeting.
There are different levels of
There are
membership.
different levels.
And what we're always looking for too are business members, because I don't think businesses realize, maybe if they sat down and thought about it, how much the quality of the experience that people feel here has to do with the quaintness of us, the beauty of our historic buildings. And so a business here would be helping to support that community, would be good for them as well as for us, and especially for the buildings who need them, who need that support.
Without people's support, they wouldn't be here.
That's right.
The support started in about, the late 1890s with the old jail. And I think if you look at a lot of different Maine communities that didn't have that preservation effort early on, some of them don't have very much left that just says, this is Maine. And this is something that we really treasure and that we want to maintain. And that is what a lot of people say when they drive through York. It's just such a beautiful little town. And a lot of things have been here ever since they started coming here. That's what makes it great.
Well, the thing you pointed out to me too, another one of the things when you got here, of course, is that we are the original Old Maine. I mean, this is the
Yeah.
gateway here,
Yeah.
the old Georgiana, and how we were originally part of Massachusetts, and how that history evolved. I mean, that's a special place on the map for York.
It is, and I've heard some people say, the museum shouldn't have the word old in its name. But if you think of New York, we were named York before New York was named York. And so we are Old York, as we didn't grow quite as big, but as a counterpoint to New York. We were the first with that name in this part of North America. So I think that's, it's something that distinguishes us, and it really is what we are. And but that doesn't mean that everything we do is old, because we
No.
have lobstermen down on the wharf, and we have dinners, and we have exhibits on topics that are much more recent than colonial.
And
America.
Mary Harding's gallery
Yeah.
is contemporary Maine artists
Yeah.
and new artists and new life
Yeah.
in art. So that's,
Very current.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're a combination of a lot of things.
And I think when people come and visit, they'll be surprised by that.
So come and visit.
Yeah.